Well, hundreds of billions of your tax dollars, yours, John, maybe all of ours, down the drain. A startling new report that one senator says makes all lawmakers look, well, we'll let Carl Cameron maybe use the direct quote, shouldn't we?
With April 15th coming, it's pretty infuriating.
It is. We're so glad you're with us, everybody. I'm Jenna Lee.
I'm John Scott. That blockbuster report highlights federal waste and redundant programs. The Government Accountability Office, a nonpartisan bunch, pinpointing areas where Washington could save taxpayer billions every year without even cutting services. Our chief political correspondent, Carl Cameron, is live on Capitol Hill with a look. Carl, it sounds like a really good example of bad spending, huh?
It is. It's a good example of a terrible example, really. And Jenna, since you've built up all the suspense, we might as well just say so. Tom Coburn of Oklahoma said that this report makes members of the Congress look like, quote, jackasses. A lot of times when we talk about spending, we report and show these several pound documents of how American tax dollars are actually going to be utilized and spent. This little gem is what they say is duplicative, what they say is unnecessary, redundant, waste, and in many cases abusive. Republicans note that it's certainly not the first report of what in the U.S. government. In fact, Eric Cantor, the Republican House Majority Leader, today said he remembers when these reports were coming out back in 2001. But, he argues, in the context of the keeping the government open and avoiding a shutdown and cutting spending and stopping the excessive borrowing that the government's been involved in with a $14 trillion debt, it's an opportunity to start doing some serious cutting. Listen to this.
We've said enough is enough. Our Congress is about delivering results. We are going to continue to try and get our fiscal house in order, taking the first step this week with the CR and the reduction in spending that the Speaker talked about.
The CR they're talking about is the continuing resolution or stopgap measure designed to keep the government open on Friday night after the current spending is expected to expire without some legislative action. Republicans want to cut some $4 billion. Democrats take a look at this GAO report, which shows hundreds and hundreds of duplicative reports and is estimated to have about $200 billion in waste that could immediately be cut. And they say, yes, it's an opportunity for them to come to the table and start working with Republicans to try to tighten the belt. Jean Shaheen of New Hampshire was one of the original Democratic supporters of Coburn's effort to get the report done. Here's how she put it.
I think it shows why people are frustrated and upset. At a time when the economy's tough, when we've got a lot of people out of work, people want government to be as effective and efficient as possible, and it's Congress's job to make sure we do that.
The Constitution gives the power of the purse strings to lawmakers to set federal spending. They are now trying to rein it in on a whole host of levels for both the short and long term. This is going to put a lot of wind in the sails of the budget cutters, and it provides centrist Democrats an opportunity to look for ways that they can get engaged and not be accused by the liberal left of goring oxes or going after sacred cows that liberals and Democrats don't. They can take a look at duplicative effort. They can fulfill their obligation as responsible for oversight over spending and actually begin to trim some of the waste.
And it's just a preliminary report. There's more digging to be done, apparently.
John, that's really important to point out. This is only 1/3 of discretionary spending that they're looking at. In fact, There's no real study of the military. There's no real study of non-discretionary spending, which is to say entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. There's hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud that has been identified and waste and abuse that have been identified in those programs. That hasn't even been done yet. That'll be next year and the year after that. In the next couple of weeks, look for new legislation from the Senate, probably Coburn, that will require every government agency to list every program. Believe it or not, there's only one agency that does that. The Education Department lists its programs. No other ever is doing that right now.
Carl Cameron in Washington. Thanks, Carl. That GAO report shines a harsh light on government